Hey YouTube, Mochismo Eugene, another video from Exit Strategy. Welcome. This topic is going to be pain. Your pain was not in vain. But before I talk about your pain was not in vain, as it pertains to the narcissist, I had a thought in my mind that came to me, and this is something I just want to share with YouTube community and the world at large, whoever may view this video. And I'm going to speak specifically towards people who have chose a lifestyle outside of the heterosexual dynamics. And it could be anything outside of a heterosexual man-woman relationship. That is what I want you guys to gain from this. It doesn't exclude anything other than a heterosexual union relationship, intimate relationship, of course. And the reason why I want to speak about this, because I think I'm going to enlighten us all as a human race about this topic that I don't think anyone really likes to talk about. It is sort of like race. No one really wants to talk about it, and the ones who do talk about it seem to have taken it to an extreme, and often it is the minority community. It's almost to the point where we're enforcing this agenda and we're forcing our voice to be heard. I just believe in the conduct. God rewards the conduct. And not to get into the race aspect of this dynamics of what I'm going to say, but that was just for emphasis. It is something that God is showing me, whereas to break it down, there is a time that's going to probably come very soon where people who are under the impression that they have been liberated by way of their choices to be with one another, man with man, woman with woman, whoever with whoever, outside of the heterosexual dynamics. And even, well, that's another video, but essentially God is showing me where this is all an agenda from the powers of darkness. Not so much your choices in sexuality, but the agenda of the ones who have afforded you the luxury and the illusion of thinking that you've been liberated. They are essentially the ones who are going to turn the tide on you. The very ones who have embellished and liberated you are the ones who are going to turn a finger of shame towards you. And the way that they are doing it now, they are giving you the illusion that is people such as myself, who is a Bible believing Christian, who is deeply spiritual, not religious. They're trying to give you the impression, and in many cases, this is exactly how it appears, as though Christians or any other religious belief are attacking those who society has in essence liberated, seemingly. They are with you, we are against you. That's all an illusion, because of the stance that people have who have biblical beliefs and spiritual religious beliefs. It goes against this type of lifestyle. So in essence, the word against means that we are diminishing your worth as a human being. That's not the reality. Although the powers that be have imposed this mindset on the people who have chosen different lifestyles. This is not made up. I just want to give you guys an opportunity to give this some thought for yourself, because at the end of the day, let's use myself for example, I have never in my heart given off the impression that anyone outside of my life choices are indifferent or different. My convictions are my own, and I'm going to tell you, this didn't just happen overnight. is a word homophobic. I think everyone in the world has been homophobic, because if you go back to the early 1900s and what have you, where the moral conduct seemingly was in high regard, where even if you drank at home, Henry Ford, the automaker, he would not hire you. He would actually fire you if he knew or had, actually, as it goes in history, and I read this, if he knew you even smoked a cigarette or had a wine at dinner time with your family off the clock, and he got wind of it, he would fire you. This is the extreme excess that some people go to have success, and they impose these demands on you. Now, how does that tie into what I just said? God has shown me. I don't know when this is going to happen and how it's going to happen, but if you look in history and you look at the Word of God and apply that with what I'm saying, it makes perfect sense. The illusion that the Egyptians gave the Israelites in thinking that they had it better to be in bondage and enslaved as long as they were fed and they were nourished. If you didn't pull your weight, the Egyptians would slaughter you. If you became of no use and you old, you aged out, and you could no longer do the demands of that work, they essentially expected you to do that work from start to finish to the rest of your life. If you got older and your work performance diminished because of age, which things do slow down, you were no use to them. And this is how it's going to work with all of the people, be it specifically this agenda that the powers that be have given LGBTQ. I don't know the acronyms, but and forgive me for being illiterate in that, but I do acknowledge this as a thing of concern in the world, because the way that the world has perceived this, or the way we who are not offensive to these specific groups of people, the powers that be, which are darkness, are trying to impose that mindset on these people who have made these choices. It is to create the inward fighting, just like the political inward fighting, just like the racial inward fighting. If you think about what I just said, there is a ton of infighting, because they hand us this plate or this bowl of hot disdain, fresh out of the microwave, and they allow us to feast on it and critique it and criticize it, one amongst the other, while they sit up in their high seats looking down on the gladiator sport. Go make this make sense to you. Give this some thought. Now, if you notice, universally is what I'm talking about. This has nothing to do with race. This has everything to do with choice, the free will, and more than anything, the way our critical thinking has been put on sleep mode. Most often, we perceive a person not to like another person on the surface because we have those insecurities of ourselves. I can be in a room with anybody who's chosen to do whatever they've chosen to do. As long as you don't force your attention on me or force me to give you my attention, and you can be amicable and you can be respectful to me, I don't have a problem being respectful towards you. These holy rollers that come into a restaurant and all they doing is they praising Jesus, talking loud to the top of their voice because they just came from church. They have this supposed Holy Ghost that they think they have, but all through the week they not high on talking about God. I practice God being the center of my life on a daily basis. This is why it is so authentic for me to live a life in fear of God, even with my struggles. I run to the throne of forgiveness much sooner than I would if I was still caught in that snare of religiosity. So with that being said, I wanted to just really talk to you guys about what God is showing me by way of this distraction. This is very much a distraction of society, one of many distractions. They'll put these wars of high magnitudes out here, and this is what pushes their agenda up financially with inflation. This gives them a justifiable cause to raise prices. Every time there's a war, while we're concerned about the war, they creep into inflation because in their mind's eye, they're trying to convince us that, wars cost a lot of money. This is why we have a Federal Reserve. So now we have to foot the bill for these wars. For them protecting us, we have to pay protection money, almost like the mob. The mob would come in and extort money from business owners. The mobs didn't put in any money. They didn't contribute anything to these businesses being built from the sweat, blood, and tears of these store owners. But then they would come in and capitalize and say, give me a cut. Otherwise, we'll torch your building. You're going to have problems. Windows are going to be broken. There's going to be major thefts. They would prey on people's fears. And if you didn't do this, then you would have to worry about them coming in and taking your building by force. So there was no third option. There was no second option. You either do it or you didn't do it. And when you didn't do it, that's not even an option. If we just sat back and thought about what is happening in our world at large, as opposed to thinking about ourselves so much and what we've gone through, we would definitely see this matrix is so very clear. And we would spend less time trying to appease those that we think matter to those that we think we matter to. But in essence, we're the only ones we believe they matter to us. It's not an even exchange. So I'm going to start another video here. I'm at 12 minutes with this video. But God is showing me where this is all an overthrow of society. And I had never looked at it that way. But God will give you some discernment when you're not even thinking about that thing. And I was not even anticipating or expecting to talk about this thing. Play this video multiple times if you don't really understand and can unpack what I'm talking about. I'm trying to be as very respectful and deliberate at the same time as I can possibly be. True believers in God don't disdain people who have made a free will choice to live a life outside of the heterosexual circles. We may not endorse, we may not sign on to that lifestyle, but we are anything but indifferent to you. Matter of fact, is on the contrary, the love that we have for you as a human being supersedes that of the world that is telling you they love you. And this is why we're going to give you your 40 acres and a mule. To close with this is an analogy I'm going to give you. It is no worse of a situation that's going to unfold than it would be me being a heterosexual black man or brown man that in times past, if I now, as I progress as a human being, as a man of ethics and moral standard, I go on to do great things in life, to help people, to inspire people, as I've changed my life, giving them inspiration. And here they go, digging up a lot of pornography on my phone from my past in order to make me appear to be less valid. That is what they're going to do with the same-sex choices, all of the things, the gay pride. They're giving you all of these liberating trinkets, paying homage to you seemingly. It's like they do when they give the Christians a church or a shrine to go to worship. It's where they give them tax exempt to make them think that they're unique in that. And you're already unique as a human being. Whether you sign on the LGBTQ or whatever, or heterosexual, you are unique. You're fearfully and wonderfully made by God. He's the only one that you need to be trying to live up to a standard by. And if you do live up to that standard that God sets for you, I guarantee you all of these things that I just pointed out will make perfect sense to you. The world doesn't love you like you think. It truly doesn't. God is sending people who truly love you whoever you may be. He loves you, and he's sending people to show you what true love looks like. So to give that some thought, and I want you guys to play this video multiple times if you need to understand where I'm going with this. That being said, bless.